Welcome to BL-101, New Testament Greek for Beginners. The purpose for the following videos is to freely provide beginner New Testament Greek classes on the internet. Hello, my name is John Hall, and I've been teaching Bible and New Testament Greek classes for over 20 years now. Over the past few years, I've seen a need for beginning Greek classes to be freely provided on the internet. There will be no charge for these courses, with all lessons freely given. I do ask that if you wish to continue this course, that you would support the publisher of this textbook by purchasing a copy of J. Gresham Machen's text, New Testament Greek for Beginners. I think it's put out by Macmillan Press. Now, if you find these videos to be a bit rough around the edges, please forgive me. I'm a teacher and I'm not a video editor. Though I would love better tools and skills, I'm going to make do with what God has given me. If you have any questions or need tutoring, please feel free to contact me. I'd be more than glad to help when I can. Now, on to our lessons. Lesson 1. Lesson 1 will consist of memorizing the Greek alphabet. Now, depending on your current academic state, I would suggest that you study the material carefully. College students should know the difference between long and short vowels, as well as open and closed vowels. All students should be able to recognize all of the lowercase small letters, allowing themselves to pick up the uppercase letters when we come upon them. Now, let's take a look at the alphabet and get a rough idea on how to pronounce each letter. Keep in mind, this is Koine Greek and not modern Greek. There might be some arguments on how to pronounce things, but don't let this be a hang-up. The first letter in the alphabet is the letter alpha. Alpha. This is A as in father. The second letter is beta. Beta as a B. Notice the foot at the bottom of the B. You begin at the base and you slide up as you draw the B and you complete it. The third letter is gamma. Gamma. This is a G as in got. Next letter is delta. Delta. It's the letter D, and notice the hat. Next letter is epsilon. Epsilon. This is an E as in get. Practice these letters. I would suggest that you practice writing them out. Epsilon would be a C with a horizontal line through the middle of it. The next letter is zeta. Zeta. We a lot of times might view this as a Z sound, but it's more of a DZ sound. We'll pick that up, and when we run across it, we'll stop and take a poke at it. But this is a letter that's written, has a small hat with a very, very elongated tail, and that tail goes below the line. Zeta. Next letter, it looks like a lowercase n in the English, but it's not. This is an eta. Eta. And it looks like an N, but the front toe goes below the line, and it has an A sound as in late. Next letter is theta. Theta has a TH sound to it. The following letter is iota. Iota. This would be I as in pit, or double E sound as in feet. Context on how we pronounce that. Also notice that that iota looks like an I, but please, when I was a first year Greek student, I had a vile habit of always putting the dot at the top. And my professor, Mr. Joe Davis at the time, now he's Dr. Joe Davis, nearly 30 years ago. Wow. I always put a dot at the top, and he'd always reprimand me for putting a dot above my yodas. It does not need a dot above the yoda. Work on that. Next letter is kappa. Kappa. I always drew this as a V shape with a little foot coming out of the bottom. But you can practice on your kappa. The next is a lambda, and that's an L sound, lambda. Next letter is mu. If you've taken any math courses or engineering courses, we use that as the micro symbol. It's the mu. And notice the first foot goes below the line. Following letter is the letter nu. Nu. It's the N sound. The leg goes straight down and then comes back up at an angle. Next letter is the letter ki. Ki. Now this would be Z. I'm sorry. I messed up. That's the letter Z. Z, it looks like the zeta, but if you notice there's a little tiny foot in the middle, a toe in the middle there. That would be the letter Z. We could call it key, but we can't because, well, you'll see in a moment the key's down below. So we pronounce this Z, like a KS or an XS sound. Following letter is Omicron. O as in obey, or ah, not to be confused with omega. I usually pronounce the Omicron as a short vowel. Machen has it here as an elongated obey. I don't know why, but I disagree with him on that. Omicron. Think of the word copy. That would be for an Omicron. Next letter is pi. Math. We have that as a constant, 3.14. But in the Greek, that is the letter pi. The next letter is the letter hro. Hro. Notice I'm not saying ro, I'm saying hro. It's pronounced with the H, softening it up. It does make the R sound, but it would be pronounced a hro. The following letter is a little bit peculiar. It's the letter sigma. It makes the S sound. But notice the first letter there, it looks like a circle with a hat on top. That's how you write out, and that's how you read a sigma. But if the sigma falls at the end of a word, and you'll notice this if you take a word, look at the word logos. It's not a circle with a hat. It's more like the English S symbol there. You'll notice that as you study New Testament Greek. I would know both forms of that sigma. Next letter is tau. It's a T. Then we have an upsilon, a French U or a German U. Upsilon, you can pronounce it. Upsilon. The next letter is the phi. Notice the Greek doesn't have an F, but it does have a PH. This is a phi, as in phonos or phobos. That is the letter right there. Following letter. This is why we have to call that previous one an Z, because this one here, this X-shaped letter, is a key. Key. This is a CH, a hard CH sound, as in like charisma. This would be the key. Next letter is the letter psi. Psi. We get the word psychology from it, with the P being silent, but the psi is the letter right there. Looks like a trident. Then last, but definitely not least, is the letter omega. omega. This is the O sound as in note, a long O sound. Now, this textbook was written long before the internet, when Greek students didn't have the tools or the computers or the software that we do now. We have wonderful tools now. So J. Gresham here encourages the student to pick up and know the mechanics of Greek. I encourage it. I really do. It is a challenge. It's one of the harder challenges of Greek. But if you can get this down, it really does help the student understand New Testament Greek. Here, Machen advises the student to learn the small letters thoroughly in connection with the first lesson, leaving the capital letters to be picked up later as they occur. It should be observed that sentences are begun with small letters and not with capitals. Before the formation of the letter is practiced, guidance should be obtained from the teacher, since it's impracticable to copy exactly the printed form of the letters. And I wish I could help you here. I'm not quite sure how to do that, but I would practice the letters on this. I think you would find it very beneficial. When I taught New Testament Greek at the college, I noticed that the students that did well always practiced very hard and did very well in their handwriting. The students who did poorly didn't care, and they kind of, well, you could tell it in their handwriting. Now, that's my bit of advice there. Before the formation of the letters is practiced, guidance should be obtained from the teacher, since it's impractical to copy exactly the printed form of the letters, and since bad habits of penmanship ought by all means to be avoided. For example, beta and hro should be formed without lifting the pen and by beginning at the bottom. In these matters, the help of a teacher is indispensable. If I could figure out how to do it, I'll be glad to show you how to write the letters. Anyway, the Greek vowels are as follows. There are short vowels, alpha, epsilon, omicron, iota, upsilon, and then there are also long vowels. Alpha, which also can be a short, is a long. Eta, omega, those are long. They'll never be short. And then iota and upsilon, they can be both long and short as well. It'll be noted that alpha, iota, and upsilon can either be long or short. The long alpha and upsilon are pronounced very much like the corresponding short letters, except that the sound is held just a little longer. The short iota is pronounced like I as in pit, and the long iota is like E as in feet. Epsilon is always short and eta is always long. Omicron is always short, while omega is long, always long. This clear distinction in appearance between the long and short E and O makes the matter of quantity very much easier in Greek than it is in Latin. Iota and upsilon are called close vowels, and the others are open vowels. A diphthong is a combination of two vowels in a single syllable. The second letter of a diphthong is always a close vowel. The first letter is always an open vowel, except in the case of hui, upsilon iota. The common diphthongs are as follows. And I would practice these. I would practice them so that you know how to pronounce them. An alpha iota, pronounced like an AI as an aisle. Epsilon iota, pronounced like a long A in fate. Thus, epsilon iota and eta are pronounced alike. Omicron iota, pronounced like oi as in oil. Alpha upsilon, pronounced like ow as in cow. Epsilon upsilon, pronounced like a u as in feud. Omicron upsilon, pronounced like an oo double o as in food. And an upsilon iota is pronounced like a hui as in queen. These are the diphthongs. These are the common diphthongs. Are there other diphthongs? Yeah, rarely. I think in the mechanics of words, you're gonna run across and stumble across an oddball once in a while, but I wouldn't lose sleep on it. Diphthongs are there pronounced by drawing the sounds of each letter closely together. They create a single sound with the two vowels. When a iota unites with a long alpha, eta, or omega to form one sound, the iota is written under the other letter instead of after it, and it's called a iota subscript. You're going to notice this. You're going to need a Greek New Testament. I would encourage you to get eSword, is what I use. Let's see if I can pull it up. Yes, here it is. I like eSword. And we'll be looking at these periodically throughout the lessons to give you a good idea of what we're dealing with. But anyway, back to our lesson. So those are iota subscripts. I wouldn't be worried when you see the small iota underneath the letters. It's just the diphthong with iota subscript. You'll get used to it. Just don't be frightened by them. A vowel or diphthong at the beginning of a word always has a breathing mark. Breathing mark stands over a vowel, and in the case of a diphthong, it stands over the second of the two component vowels. Now, in Greek, there are two types of breathing marks. The rough breathing mark, and look closely at it, indicates an H sound. It would be like Horatio. The H sound would be placed at the beginning of it. This is a rough breather mark, and pronounced before the initial vowel or diphthong. The smooth breathing mark, which is ticked off in the opposite direction, indicates that there is no such H sound and is pronounced silently. Thus, if you look closely here at the thing, N, let's see, I don't know if I can zoom in on this or not, but I will try. Here we go. N is to be pronounced as N. But look at the breathing mark above the second word here, the word hen. This is the Greek number 1. Hen. And it's pronounced differently than you have here the preposition N, which is in. It's a static movement of in for the preposition. But anyway, you see the difference here. You have N is the pronounced N, and hen is the pronounced hen. Oo is the pronounced oo, and who, notice the rough breather mark here, is the pronounced who. There are 3 accents in the New Testament Greek also. There's the acute, there's the circumflex, and there's the grave. Some people pronounce it as grave. Either way, grave or grave. These accents, like the breathings, stand over a vowel, and in the case of a diphthong, over the second of the two component vowels. When a breathing and an accent stand over the same vowel, the breathing, let's see, here we go, comes first, except in the case of the circumflex accent, which stands over the breathing. Thus, oikou, oikos. The use of the accents will be studied in Lesson 2. Here it should simply be observed that the stress in pronunciation is to be placed on the syllable that has any one of the accents. Punctuation. There are 4 marks of punctuation: the comma and the period, both written in line and corresponding to the comma and period in English. The colon, which is above the line, notice it there, and takes the place of the English colon and semicolon. And finally, the question mark, which does look like the English semicolon. These are the 4 punctuation marks. Paragraph 8 is an exercise. After learning to write the small letters of the alphabet and give the names of the letters in order, The student should practice pronouncing Greek words and sentences found anywhere in this book. Throughout the entire study, great care should be devoted to pronunciation, and the Greek sentences should always be read aloud, both in preparation of the lessons and in the work of the classroom. In this way, the language will be learned not only by eye, but also by ear, and will be fixed much more firmly in your memory. The student should try to read the Greek sentences with expression, thinking of the meaning as he reads. Now, this is the end of Lesson 1 that we're dealing with here tonight. Don't be intimidated. For the casual student and for the modern student, learn the alphabet. Please learn to recognize the lowercase letters. I would also know the diphthongs. With the tools that we have, and throughout this course, I'm hoping to share with you the different tools that I use. You will find that there's less need for the actual mechanics of the lettering. We will be going over the mechanics, but I wouldn't let it intimidate you. One of the nice things about these video classes is that if you don't understand something, feel free to rewind the teacher. I am here on the video on the internet as long as possible, and you're welcome to rewind this and go over the material carefully. Like I said, also, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me if you're able to. Thank you.